So we're out here in the early morning in Dubai and it's 34 degrees. And here we go, Hannah's with me. The reason we're doing this is we want to do some low light footage to understand how these cameras perform and then transition to sort of normal light conditions to see how these work for someone like myself, who's a runner, who creates content. Now, the other thing is I'm going to compare them to the Pocket 3, which is the camera I'm holding right now. I am using all of these in a standard mode. So what I mean by that is I'm not using D-Log, even though they all have D-Log M. I'm using the normal mode to keep it simple and so that my color grading doesn't affect the quality of what we're doing. I've also connected mine and Hannah's DJI mics to the Osmo 360 so that you can hear the quality that comes when you use a mic versus the three cameras actual inbuilt mics. Now remember, the 360 is a 360 camera, which means it's capturing footage all around, and I can turn that footage into flat footage in post-production, or I can shoot it that way at the start. Now, as you can see, we're now in running mode. I'm trying to see them all in action. And the one thing I forgot to mention, which I will mention now, is I have put the Osmo 360 in super night mode. So they are all in their best low light modes for capturing. The Action 4 doesn't really have a special super night mode. It has a low light enhancement, which is on. It comes on automatically if you put it on auto. And I must say they're all doing pretty well. The Action 4 probably the worst of the bunch. Again, like I said, no adjustments, everything on auto to see what comes through and how we can compare the image quality. And we are doing a lot of movement, we're bouncing up and down, we're running, and we'll see how that all plays out. The other thing I've just done here is try and move this into single lens mode on the 360, again, so that we can compare them all. The beauty of the single lens mode is it gives us a little bit of a nice comparison to kind of see what we're doing. And for me, there will be a lot of times I'll use the 360 in single lens mode versus the Action cam, and you can see how that comes together. It is very humid, so I'm going to have to wipe the lenses. So if you do see any glare on the lenses, it's just the humidity has kicked in and put some condensation on the lenses. And we are transitioning from light to non-light conditions, and you can kind of see the difference that's happening. Let's use this as an opportunity to talk about the mics. So I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to switch from the DJI mic, which is the first mic, to the internal mic on the Pocket 3, which you should be hearing now, the internal mic on the Pocket 3. Then I'm going to shift to the internal mic on the 360, which is the one you should be hearing right now. And then I'm going to shift to the internal mic on the Action, which is the one you should be hearing right now. So those are the three internal mics, one after the other. I'm back now on my DJI mic and working through that. So what do you think? Which one sounds the best? I don't know until I go and edit this in post, but at the moment I'm just going back and forth between the three mics to see how their internal mic recording holds up. Let's just test it with you in the background.
We're wearing two mics obviously, and I have the other one, so we see if it picks up me just as well, which it should.
Yeah,
but it would be interesting to hear because you also have that deep voice.
Just talking about deep voice. Yeah, so let's carry on. I need to switch between the mics. So, you know, tell us a story while I go between.
Tell us a story while you're switching the mics.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and you really just put me on the spot to tell a story, but let's see if you can manage to switch the mics while we're talking and walking, technically, right?
Good. I think there's enough there to do the switching. I'll do that all in post, but somehow you should have heard all the various mics in action. I'm also going to show you the settings, the best things I'm going to use, etc. But I've kind of jumped into this bit, which is the image quality. So here's a quick rundown. The Osmo 360 gives you that full, you know, I'm going to put my hand around it. It gives you that full 360 view. You can turn it around. You can focus it on things. So for example, you can now see what the Osmo 360 is seeing out the window, which is fantastic. It films everything. And there you got me in the background. You've seen all the matrix style edits and stuff in other people's videos. I'm not going to go into all that stuff today. Instead, what we're focusing on in this video is comparing it to the Action cam. So for that, in terms of settings, I'll just show you. I've got the exposure at auto. I've got the white balance at auto. Color mode, I could have gone for D-Log M, which meant I'd have had to do some color grading, but instead I've gone for the normal 10-bit, and I've done some image adjustments, -2, which is what I do on all my DJI cameras, including my DJI drone. Now, the other thing to just bear in mind is I have got it at 8K 30 frames per second to keep it as what is recommended for where I am. And then the other thing is I come into the settings and I'm going to connect the mic to it. You put the mic into pairing mode. This is stuff you've seen in other videos and it does it instantly. But within the main settings, I have done something which is really important. I want the built-in mic backup on. When we're recording, we are also recording from the internal mic at the same time. This is the 360 settings that I'm going to use. A quick rundown on the same settings on the Action cam. Come into the same place. Exposure auto as in the other camera. White balance is also auto. Color mode is normal, not D-Log M. Field of view is wide. Image adjustments similar, -2, which I use for all my DJI cameras. And low light image enhancement I've not got on, so I've left that as off. I'm doing 4K 50 FPS with Rocksteady on because again we're doing action content. A big difference for this camera is if you come into the settings, it doesn't have the internal mic backup. This is not a problem, as I've pointed out to a few people, if you have the Action 5, but the Action 4 actually doesn't have that, which is a bit of a shame. Like I said, there's some differences for the Action 4. One is you can only connect one mic at a time, which is a shame with Bluetooth, and you don't have the backup, as I pointed out. What is great though is it does have, and this is interesting because you get to see me, it does have a screen on each side, so that's where it kind of competes with the 360. The 360 doesn't need a screen on each side because you're able to see a 360 view, so it doesn't matter where you've got the screen, the camera's always picking up. But this is still a good contender and we're going to see how they perform. Okay, so I'm also going to try and exaggerate my movement. So this is me now sprinting. Now remember, there is Rocksteady on the Action cam. The Action cam has Rocksteady, has horizon balance. The Pocket 3 has a mechanical gimbal for stabilization, but the 360 is a 360 camera. Now, the key reason that's important as I walk back is the 360 camera, which means it captures everything and it makes it very easy to create some kind of stabilized footage, because you're capturing everything and you can clip and stabilize as you see fit. Now, we did this sort of acceleration piece. This now I'm going to do a bit of jumping, moving around, just to see. And we're going to try and compare all the footage to kind of see which one does the best, especially with the low light piece. And there you got kind of sat down waiting for me by a bin.
While you're jumping.
So the only bit we're waiting for now is for the light to change a bit so that we can do, I don't even know which camera to look at. We can do so that we can do the sort of brighter capturing. Okay, so here we are, and now we are in, I guess, daylight. Not perfect daylight, but daylight. So a reminder that all the cameras are in their standard setting. The reason I've done that rather than put them in D-Log M is I don't want my color grading to impact what you see, so they're all in their standard setting. We kind of did a mic test early in the video, so go back if you've skipped to this point. We're on a beach, and the reason why we've come to the beach is I was hoping it'll be a bit windy to see how the mics react to the wind noise.
But today it's chosen to be silence.
Yeah, it's still, it's very still. Yeah. But I will get some running footage so you can see how stabilized it looks. This is the most running we've done together in about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
But yeah, so remember, Rocksteady on the Action cam, the 360 camera is a 360 camera, so because it can see everything, it is pretty much stabilized in its own way. And the Pocket 3 has a mechanical gimbal. And the Pocket 3 is not on test today. It's not a camera I would use for our running content. It's purely in here just to give us a little bit of variety in what we're shooting and to be a little bit of a benchmark that we can compare the quality. I must say, from what I can see, the Action camera is bottom of the list. Okay, we'll spin around. The Action camera is is pretty much lost.
Yeah.
But the Osmo is absolutely impressing me. So one of the things about using a 360 camera is you have to reframe the footage. So you have to use the DJI Studio app. And for people who've had the Insta360, which I've had, the Insta360 app is quite good. This is my first time using the DJI Studio app, and I'm going to use it to see how it compares to Insta360 and how quickly I can reframe 360 footage into flat footage for my running content. So I've got the footage here, which I can show you. And I just remembered the 360 has a built-in memory. So I think all my footage is on there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug this direct to the laptop to get the footage off. So give me a second on that. So let me import a file. Here you go. So back here, we have this file, 8.52 gigabyte DJI file. So I import that file. That's it over there, drag it to the timeline. There it is. The first thing I'm gonna do is because I need it as flat footage, I'm gonna de-warp it, mix it flat footage, and then I need to get it in the angle I need it. Now this is me still adjusting the camera, so I wait for a second. There, we're done, right? So this is here, that's my Action 4. There's my Pocket 3, so I'll maybe put it somewhere in the middle, about there, right? So now I've got my flat footage, put a keyframe there to hold it there, and then I can work through it. So start working through it. I can then sort of accelerate through it very quickly to make sure it holds. It's kind of drifting a little bit. So I will put another keyframe there and move it that way, right? And then carry on. So I have to like work my way through it all the time. Yeah, what makes this? Okay. So what's my summary? Is this the game changer for runners? I think yes, it is. The internal memory over 110 gigabyte means I don't have to worry about my SD cards. I have a lot of memory to work with. It's a 360 camera. I don't have to worry about framing. I can use the DJI Studio app, which we've seen is just as good as the Insta360 app, and you can get flat footage so quickly. We've seen it in low light, we've seen it in normal light. I think it matches and in some ways beats an action cam in those lighting conditions. The fact you can connect two mics to it wirelessly. So now I've got mics recording, I've got internal backup, which gives me that ambient sound of the waves and the water and anything that is out there. This is fantastic. So I must say DJI have knocked this out of the park for their first 360 camera. What does this mean for me and my cameras? Well, the Action 4 has got to go. I'm not going to use that anymore. This just knocks it out of the park. The Pocket 3 is still the ideal vlogging cam. Due to the fact these has the lenses that pop out that are not replaceable, there are just some scenarios where I will want to use an action cam because it just has more protection. But on daily running content where I don't need that protection, I think this is my new go-to camera. I'm not a camera reviewer, I'm a runner who creates content, and I just thought this video would be quite useful for people who had the same question as me, getting an answer from someone who has the Pocket, the Action Cam, and now the 360, giving you an idea, what is the game changer device that covers all need states? And I must say, it is this one. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, click subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon so you're notified when I post more content, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.